back before Elvis, before the Vietnam War.
Merle Haggard was a music legend, loved by millions, but for 30 years he kept a part of his life hidden from everyone. Behind the songs and the stage lights, there was a side of him nobody saw. What was Merle hiding all this time, and how did it shape the man the world knew? Stay with us. Troubled beginnings, timeless music. Merle Haggard was born on April 6, 1937, in Oildale, California. His parents, Flossie Mae and James Francis Haggard, had moved to California a few years earlier after their farm in Checotah, Oklahoma, burned down. Life was hard for the family. They first lived in an apartment in Bakersfield with Merle's two older siblings, James Lowell and Lillian. James Haggard worked for the Santa Fe Railroad to support the family. One day, a woman who owned a boxcar in nearby Oildale asked James if he could turn it into a home. James remodeled the boxcar, expanded it, and soon the family moved in. It was a small and unusual home, but it was theirs. Merle was born there, into a world that already carried struggle. When Merle was only 9, his father passed away suddenly from a brain hemorrhage. The loss hit him hard, and it shaped much of his early life. His mother went to work as a bookkeeper to support the family. Merle's older brother, Lowell, gave him a guitar when he was 12. Merle taught himself to play by listening to records he had at home. He was drawn to the music of Bob Wills, Lefty Frizzell, and Hank Williams. Music became both a comfort and a refuge. But outside the small boxcar home, life was difficult. Merle often got into trouble while his mother was at work. He was sent to juvenile detention for a weekend, but his behavior only worsened. By the age of 13, he was stealing and writing bad checks. In 1950, he was caught shoplifting and sent back to juvenile detention. The following year, he ran away to Texas with his friend Bob Teague. They rode freight trains and hitchhiked across the state, searching for adventure. When they returned to California, they were wrongly accused of robbery and sent to jail. Fortunately, the real robbers were caught, and Merle was released, though his troubles were far from over. Soon after, he was sent to another juvenile detention center. He escaped with Teague and traveled to Modesto, California, where he took on a variety of odd jobs. He worked as a potato truck driver, a short-order cook, a hay pitcher, and even an oil well shooter. It was in Modesto that Merle performed for the first time, singing with Teague at a local bar called the Fun Center. They were paid $5 and given free beer. It was a small start, but a start nonetheless. Merle returned to Bakersfield in 1951 and was again in trouble for truancy and petty theft. He was sent to the high-security Preston School of Industry. He spent 15 months there, only to return later after another incident involving a fight during a burglary attempt. Yet, even in this troubled time, music began to guide him. After being released, Merle and Teague attended a concert by Lefty Frizzell. Merle sang along backstage, and Frizzell invited him to perform on stage. The audience loved him. That moment sparked the dream that would define his life. From that day on, Merle worked during the day in farms and oil fields and performed at night in local bars. Life was still far from easy. In 1956, he got married but struggled financially. In 1957, desperate and frustrated, he tried to rob a Bakersfield roadhouse. He was caught and sent to jail. After an attempted escape, he was transferred to San Quentin Prison on February 21, 1958. His prisoner number was a 45200. Prison life brought its own challenges. While inside, he learned that his wife was expecting another man's child. The news weighed heavily on him. He lost several prison jobs and even considered escaping with a fellow inmate nicknamed Rabbit, but others convinced him not to. He became involved in gambling and brewing schemes inside the prison. When caught drinking, he spent a week in solitary confinement. There, he met Carol Chessman, a death row inmate and author. Witnessing the consequences of crime, including Rabbit's eventual execution, inspired Merle to change. Merle focused on self-improvement. He earned his high school equivalency diploma and took a steady job in the prison's textile plant. Music remained central to his life, and he joined the prison's country music band. In 1960, he attended a Johnny Cash concert at the prison, where Cash performed Folsom Prison Blues. The performance left a deep mark on Merle. He realized that music could be his way out, his chance for a new life. So, how did he get to the top despite this rocky past? Let's dive in, from shadows to spotlight. After being released from San Quentin in 1960, Merle Haggard returned to California, ready to start over. At first, he worked digging ditches for his brother's electrical contracting company. It was hard work, quiet and lonely, but it kept him busy and gave him time to think. Music, though, was never far from his heart. Soon, he began performing again and eventually started recording with Tally Records, a small label in Bakersfield. At the time, a new style of country music was emerging in the area. It was raw, honest, and simple, a reaction against the polished, overproduced sound coming out of Nashville. This would later be called the Bakersfield sound, and Haggard would become one of its greatest stars. Haggard's first record with Tally was Singing My Heart Out, with Skid Row on the flip side. The record did not do well. Only 200 copies were pressed. He did not give up. He kept performing, learning, and honing his craft. In 1962, he found himself at a Wynn Stewart show in Las Vegas, where he heard Stewart's song, Sing a Sad Song. Something about it spoke to him. He asked for permission to record it, and a few years later, in 1964, the single became a national hit. By 1965, Merle had his first top 10 national record, My Friends Are Gonna Be Strangers, written by Liz Anderson, the mother of country singer Lynn Anderson. From that moment, his career began to rise. Haggard remembered being talked into visiting Anderson at her home to hear her songs. At first, he was reluctant. He did not want to sit in some woman's house listening to her music. But once she began playing, he was stunned. One song after another seemed like a hit. That day, Merle realized that great songs could come from unexpected places, and he decided to devote himself to music fully. In 1967, Haggard recorded I'm a Lonesome Fugitive with his band, The Strangers. The song, also written by Liz Anderson and her husband Casey, became his first #1 single. The Andersons did not know about Haggard's time in prison when they offered him the song, but its message matched his life perfectly. Bonnie Owens, Haggard's backup singer and then wife, remembered noticing a shadow in him during this time. He rarely spoke of his past, but she could sense the fear and tension that lingered from his prison years. Even so, these experiences shaped his music rather than holding him back. Haggard's 1967 album, Branded Man, marked the start of both artistic and commercial success. It was followed by Sing Me Back Home and The Legend of Bonnie and Clyde, which many critics consider some of the best country albums of their time. His band, The Strangers, helped define his sound. Roy Nichols' Telecaster, Ralph Mooney's steel guitar, and the harmony vocals of Bonnie Owens became instantly recognizable and inseparable from Haggard's music. Bonnie Owens, already a well-known performer, was married to Buck Owens before joining Haggard. She had her own success on the Bakersfield music scene and on television, and she won the first ever Academy of Country Music Award for Female Vocalist. Yet, she became best known for her harmonies on Haggard's hits, helping songs like Sing Me Back Home and Branded Man resonate with audiences across the country. Haggard's producer, Ken Nelson, gave him freedom in the studio, trusting his instincts and talent. He treated Merle with respect, calling him Mr. Haggard, even though Merle was still a young man from Oildale with a troubled past. Nelson stepped back and let Merle make decisions about his music. This trust gave Haggard the space to grow as a songwriter and performer, and he flourished under it. By the late 1960s, Haggard was producing hit after hit. Songs like Mama Tried, The Legend of Bonnie and Clyde, Hungry Eyes, and Sing Me Back Home topped the charts. His music told stories of life, struggle, and heartache, connecting deeply with listeners. Sing Me Back Home, in particular, carried a powerful emotional weight. It told the story of a condemned prisoner, echoing Haggard's own experiences and the people he had known in prison. The song showed that even in the darkest moments, music could carry hope, sorrow, and reflection all at once. In 1969, Haggard released Same Train, Different Time, a tribute to Jimmy Rogers, a tribute album that celebrated the roots of country music. Critics praised him for capturing the spirit of the songs while making them his own. His 21st century biographers would later say that his records from this period showed a remarkable understanding of emotion and storytelling. Haggard did not just sing songs, he lived them. He made audiences feel the experiences he had known, from loneliness and fear to hope and triumph. A life of song. Merle Haggard's life was a story of resilience, music, and the power of second chances. By 1969, he had already established himself as one of country music's most powerful voices. That year, Haggard and his band, The Strangers, released the song Okie from Muskogee. The lyrics reflected pride in being from the heart of Middle America, where tradition, hard work, and patriotism shaped everyday life. The song struck a chord with many people, including American President Richard Nixon, who wrote Haggard a letter of appreciation and later invited him to perform at the White House several times. Over the years, Haggard gave different accounts of the meaning behind the song. Some believed it was serious, while others thought it might have been a humorous take on the culture of the time. Haggard explained later that the song captured the feelings of ordinary Americans, especially those who had served in the military or grown up with traditional values. He remembered seeing a sign on Interstate 40 pointing toward Muskogee, and it reminded him of his father, who had passed away when Merle was only 9. That flash of memory inspired him to write lyrics that described the people who lived in small towns, focused on family, work, and community, as opposed to the youthful rebellion and protests happening on college campuses. In just 20 minutes, the song was complete, a simple snapshot of American life as Haggard had experienced and remembered it. Haggard's influence on country music continued to grow. In 1970, he released A Tribute to the Best Damn Fiddle Player in the World, honoring Bob Wills and helping spark a revival of Western swing. By this time, Haggard was one of the most famous country singers in the world. His work with Capitol Records had produced 24 #1 country singles since 1966, cementing his reputation as a storyteller who could capture both struggle and hope in his songs. In 1972, Haggard starred in his first television special, Let Me Tell You About a Song. It was a semi-autobiographical musical profile that offered audiences a look at his life and creative process. Haggard continued to explore themes that resonated with everyday people, particularly the working class. His 1973 hit, If We Make It Through December, became an anthem for those struggling during the recession. It would be his last song to cross over into the pop charts, but it furthered his reputation as a voice of the people. Merle Haggard appeared on the cover of Time magazine on May 6, 1974, a testament to his influence beyond the music world. That year, he also wrote and performed the theme song for the television series Movin' On, which became another #1 country hit. Throughout the early to mid-1970s, Haggard and the Strangers dominated the country charts with hits like Someday We'll Look Back, Grandma Harp, Always Wanting You, and The Roots of My Raising. Between 1973 and 1976, they achieved 9 consecutive #1 country songs, a remarkable accomplishment in any era. In addition to his music, Haggard ventured into acting. He appeared on The Waltons in 1976, playing a bandleader named Red who had lost his son. This role allowed Haggard to explore themes of grief and recovery, reflecting some of the personal struggles he had experienced in his own life. By 1977, Haggard had signed with MCA Records, and his music began exploring deeper personal themes. Albums such as Serving 190 Proof and The Way I Am reflected on middle age, depression, and the challenges of life on the road. Haggard also collaborated with other artists, including Linda Carter, for duets and television performances. In 1980, he contributed to the Bronco Billy soundtrack, recording a #1 hit, Barroom Buddies, with actor Clint Eastwood. In 1981, Haggard published his autobiography, Sing Me Back Home, and provided the narration and theme for The Legend of the Lone Ranger. That same year, he changed record labels again, moving to Epic Records and releasing one of his most acclaimed albums, Big City, with The Strangers by his side. Between 1981 and 1985, Haggard continued to chart hits, including 12 top 10 country songs, 9 of which reached #1. During this period, he recorded duets with George Jones and Willie Nelson, further cementing his legacy. Nelson even believed the Academy Award-winning film Tender Mercies, about a fictional singer named Max Sledge, was inspired by Haggard's life, though filmmakers denied this. Haggard's personal life, however, was not without turmoil. In 1983, he divorced his third wife, Leona Williams, after 5 turbulent years. The split coincided with a period of heavy drinking and medication use. Haggard later described it as a midlife crisis, a time when life's familiar pleasures no longer brought happiness, and the body and mind seemed at odds. He struggled with cocaine briefly, but was able to quit, eventually reclaiming focus on his music. Even during this difficult period, he won a Grammy Award for Best Male Country Vocal Performance in 1984 for his remake of That's the Way Love Goes. Financial and career challenges continued into the 1990s, as new country stars like George Strait and Randy Travis rose in popularity. Haggard's last #1 hit came in 1988 with Twinkle Twinkle Lucky Star from the album Chill Factor. Despite these challenges, Haggard remained true to his beliefs and artistic vision. In 1989, he recorded Me and Crippled Soldiers Give a Damn, a response to the Supreme Court's decision not to ban flag burning. When CBS Records hesitated to release it, Haggard bought his way out of the contract and signed with Curb Records, demonstrating his lifelong commitment to independence and integrity. The new millennium brought a resurgence of creativity. In 2000, Haggard signed with the independent label Anti and released If I Could Only Fly, an album praised by critics for its stripped-down, heartfelt sound. He followed this in 2001 with Roots, Vol. 1, a collection of covers and originals recorded in his living room with the Strangers, showing that even late in his career, Haggard's music remained deeply personal and honest. Haggard spoke openly about his time in prison, calling it the scariest experience of his life, but also acknowledging how it shaped him. He defended other artists' freedom of speech, notably speaking up for the Dixie Chicks in 2003 when they faced public backlash for criticizing the Iraq War. Haggard remained a voice for the people, unafraid to speak his mind and stand for his beliefs. His music continued to appear in films, from The Strangers to Crash and Fargo, ensuring that his influence reached new audiences. In October 2005, he released Chicago Wind, an album containing the anti-Iraq war song America First. In 2007, he explored bluegrass with the Bluegrass Sessions. And in April 2010, he released I Am What I Am, performing the title track on The Tonight Show with Jay Leno in February 2011. Merle Haggard's final concert was held on February 13, 2016, at the Paramount Theater in Oakland. By then, he had spent decades shaping country music, telling the stories of ordinary people, and turning personal struggle into songs that could touch hearts. From troubled beginnings to chart-topping success, Merle Haggard lived a life that celebrated honesty, resilience, and the enduring power of music. So how was his life seen by the world? Stay with us. A lasting legacy. Merle Haggard's life was a story of music, hard work, and unwavering dedication. Over his long and remarkable career, he became one of the most celebrated voices in country music, earning recognition not only for his singing, but also for his songwriting and unique style. Haggard received countless awards from the Academy of Country Music, the Country Music Association, and the Grammy Awards. He was recognized for both his talent and his influence, leaving a mark on the world that extended far beyond the stage. In 1977, Haggard was inducted into the Nashville Songwriters Hall of Fame, a fitting acknowledgement of his ability to tell stories through music. His songs reflected life's struggles, joys, and heartbreaks in a way that resonated deeply with listeners. Years later, in 1994, he was welcomed into the Country Music Hall of Fame and Museum, cementing his place among the legends of the genre. Haggard's home state of Oklahoma also honored him in 1997, inducting him into the Oklahoma Music Hall of Fame. These honors celebrated not only his music, but the way he represented the spirit and culture of America through song. By 2006, Haggard's contributions to music were recognized on a national level. He received a Grammy Lifetime Achievement Award, celebrating his decades of influence, and was named a BMI icon at the 54th Annual BMI Pop Awards. By that time, Haggard had accumulated 48 BMI Country Awards, 9 BMI Pop Awards, a BMI R&B Award, and 16 BMI Millionaire Awards, with his songs played more than 25 million times. These numbers reflected the power of his music, which connected with generations of listeners and influenced countless other artists. Haggard's impact extended beyond music awards. On December 4, 2010, he received a Kennedy Center honor from the John F. Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts, a recognition of his lifetime achievement and extraordinary contribution to American culture. The following day, he was celebrated at a gala in Washington, D.C., with performances from Chris Christopherson, Willie Nelson, Sheryl Crow, Vince Gill, Jamie Johnson, Kid Rock, Miranda Lambert, and Brad Paisley. The tribute was televised on CBS, allowing millions more to appreciate the depth of his influence. Haggard's connection to his roots was never forgotten. In July 2007, a 3.5-mile stretch of 7th Standard Road in Oildale, California, where he grew up, was renamed Merle Haggard Drive in his honor. The road stretches from North Chester Avenue west to Utah's Route 99 and provides access to the William M. Thomas Airport Terminal at Meadows Field Airport. Haggard himself played 2 benefit shows to raise money for the changes in road signage, showing his generosity and pride in his hometown. In 2015, the boxcar where Haggard's family had lived as he grew up was preserved and moved to the Kern County Museum. This historic preservation honored his humble beginnings and the journey he had made from those early years to becoming a music legend. On November 6, 2013, Haggard was presented with the key to the city of Winchester, Virginia, at the Patsy Cline Theater after a sold-out show by Bonnie Blue Concerts. His connection with fans remained as strong as ever, decades after his rise to fame. A few months earlier, on June 14th, California State University, Bakersfield, awarded Haggard an honorary degree of Doctor of Fine Arts. Standing at the podium, he humbly acknowledged the honor, saying it was nice to be noticed. These recognitions highlighted not only his musical talent but also his lasting influence as a cultural figure. Even late in his career, Haggard remained relevant. On January 26, 2014, he performed his 1969 hit "Okie from Muskogee" at the 56th Annual Grammy Awards alongside Chris Christopherson, Willie Nelson, and Blake Shelton, reminding the world of his enduring voice and presence in country music. In 2023, Rolling Stone ranked him at number 100.38 on its list of the 200 greatest singers of all time, a testament to his remarkable skill and the lasting impression of his work. Haggard's musical style was unique. His guitar playing and voice gave his country songs a hard-edged, blues-influenced style that set him apart from others. While he was outspoken about his dislike for much of modern country music, he praised artists such as George Strait, Toby Keith, Alan Jackson, and Sturgill Simpson, showing his respect for talent and dedication to the craft. Haggard also had a deep love for jazz, once expressing a desire to be remembered as the greatest jazz guitar player in the world who loved to play country. His curiosity about music extended far beyond country, shaping a style that was both original and timeless. Haggard's influence touched many other artists. He was widely respected as an icon for both his music and his personal views. Many country singers have paid tribute to him in their own songs, sometimes using clever references to his name. In the 1970s, some rock bands responded to Haggard's criticism of the counterculture in songs like "Okie from Muskogee" and "The Fightin' Side of Me." The Youngbloods answered with their song "Hippie from Olema," even changing a line to "We still take in strangers if they're Haggard," playfully nodding to him. Nick Gravenites also created a tribute song called "I'll Change Your Flat Tire, Merle," later covered by other artists. Even bands that seemed far from country music recognized Haggard's influence. The Grateful Dead performed his song "Mama Tried" over 300 times and "Sing Me Back Home" approximately 40 times. Southern rock band Lynyrd Skynyrd referenced Haggard in their Railroad song, acknowledging his connection to Jimmie Rodgers and the spirit of American music. Skynyrd also performed covers of his songs and incorporated them into their own albums, showing how Haggard's reach went beyond traditional country audiences. Haggard described himself as a student of music, philosophy, and communication. He studied jazz guitar, the teachings of spiritual radio host Garner Ted Armstrong, and even reflected on life after death. His curiosity and passion for learning informed his artistry, allowing him to grow constantly and remain innovative. Even as a legendary figure, he never stopped exploring new ideas, new techniques, and new ways to connect with listeners. So, what secrets were hidden from the world? Let's find out. The final chapters of Merle Haggard. Merle Haggard's personal life was as full of highs and lows as his music career. He was married 5 times, and each relationship brought its own joys and challenges. His first marriage, to Leona Hobbs, lasted from 1956 to 1964. Together, they had 4 children: Dana, Marty, Kelly, and Noel. While the marriage produced a family, it ended in divorce, leaving Haggard to navigate fatherhood and the pressures of a rising music career. In 1965, shortly after his first divorce, Haggard married singer Bonnie Owens, who had previously been married to Buck Owens. Bonnie played a crucial role in Haggard's early success, both as a creative partner and as a supportive presence in his life. Together, they wrote the song "Today I Started Loving You Again," which captured a sudden surge of love Haggard felt for her while touring. Bonnie also helped care for Haggard's children from his first marriage, showing patience and dedication that few could match. Even after their divorce in 1978, the two remained close friends. Bonnie continued to sing backup for Haggard until her death in 2006, reflecting a lifelong bond built on music and mutual respect. Later in 1978, Haggard married Leona Williams. Their relationship, though passionate at the start, ended in divorce 5 years later, in 1983. Following that, in 1985, Haggard married Debbie Parrott. This marriage lasted until 1991, ending after 6 years. Finally, on September 11, 1993, he married Teresa Ann Lane, with whom he had 2 children, Janessa and Ben. This last chapter of his family life reflected a quieter stability as he entered the later years of his career. Haggard's struggles were not limited to love and family. He battled with substance use and smoking for decades. At age 41, in 1978, he began smoking narcotics. By 1983, he admitted to buying $2,000 worth of substance and partied heavily for 5 months before realizing the toll it was taking on his life and quitting. Despite these challenges, he gradually overcame his addictions. He quit smoking cigarettes in 1991 and stopped marijuana in 1995, although interviews suggest he may have resumed marijuana use later in life. Alongside these personal struggles, Haggard faced serious health challenges. In 1995, he underwent angioplasty to clear clogged arteries, a procedure that helped extend his life. Years later, in May 2008, he was diagnosed with lung cancer and had part of his lung removed during surgery in November. Remarkably, less than 2 months after this major operation, Haggard returned to perform 2 shows in January 2009 at the Buck Owens Crystal Palace in Bakersfield. His determination to keep performing showed his unbreakable spirit and deep love for music. Even in the final years of his life, Haggard's health remained a concern. On December 5, 2015, he was hospitalized for pneumonia. Although he recovered, he had to postpone several concerts. In March 2016, he was once again hospitalized, and his shows for April were canceled due to ongoing double pneumonia. Despite these setbacks, Haggard's commitment to his fans never wavered. On April 6, 2016, Haggard celebrated his 79th birthday. Tragically, that day also marked his passing. He passed away at his home in Palo Cedro, Shasta County, California, from complications related to pneumonia. True to his quiet and private nature, Haggard's funeral was held at his ranch on April 9th, attended by close friends and family. Longtime friend and fellow musician Marty Stewart officiated the ceremony, honoring Haggard's life and legacy in a heartfelt and personal way. What do you think about Merle Haggard? Let us know in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, like, share, and subscribe to this channel for more celebrity gist. Before you go, watch the other videos on your screen.